with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll also like to have a moment of silence for Central High School in South St. Louis. Thank you. And on to the acceptance of the minutes for the meeting of October 11th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Nothing under audience. We'll go into reports. Financial report for September for the school department, for Rockland High School student activities, and Rogers Middle School student activities.
3 motions to approve.
3 seconds.
All those in favor? And thank you. We'll go to building rentals. They're very busy. It's good to see how busy they have been. Let me flip through my papers. I just was going to comment. Sorry, I'm busy chairing and not flipping, but anyways, we can keep moving. I just noticed how busy they were and what an array of things that were going on in the schools for the rentals. So that's all I had to say.
But I'd just like to say that Noel Novio has been working very hard with folks, and it's wonderful seeing so many programs come back.
Right, that's what I
That haven't been able
noticed.
to be here for a few years, so it's been an exciting time.
If there are people watching or listening and they have questions about renting, should they reach out to her, or do they
Yes.
go to each of the schools directly, to the principal, out to?
Yeah.
Noel Novio, 781-878-3893.
Perfect. In case there was more driving up of those rentals. So, very
Right.
good.
Anyone else?
Do we need a motion to approve that report?
Nope.
Nope.
We can keep going. Thank you.
Yep.
You're on it. Moving to old business, Phelps Elementary School update would normally be Miss Harrison. Do one of you want to take it?
Just want to remind everyone that January 12th, we'll be having a grand opening celebration at the school from 6 to 8 p.m. The public is welcome. We'd love to have this be a town-wide celebration, so save the date, January 12th, 6 to 8, the Phelps Elementary School. It's going to be amazing and exciting, so I hope everyone will show up. Everything is on time and under budget. On time and under budget, which is phenomenal. So that's all I have on that.
Great, thank you very much. And we'll go to the FY23 budget update with Ms. Hackett.
Thank you. If we can just, sure, there we go. There we go. So this is the same format that we've used historically, and we always come back in October after we've had all our payrolls go through, and the reconciliation, it goes from projected to actuals. We do sort of a quarterly exercise, so very little to report here. We have the 27,933,000 has stayed stable to the town. Again, highlighting that out of the grant line, that only 943,000 of that is recurring. The rest is non-recurring relief money. However, I am exceptionally confident that the next 2 lines, over the course of the last several years, been watching these closely, both the circuit breaker and the revolving account, that these are recurring amounts that we can sustain over the course of the next few years. And then come down into the salary line. The salary line went up a bit. The contracts went through, retros paid, et cetera, and a continued realignment and readjustment and tweaking here and there, making sure they're in the right categories and in the right codes, so it bumps it between salary 1, salary 2, subs, and expenses. We're still flushing some of those numbers out, and we do that, several times a year. So 1,275,000 of salaries is on a non-recurring grant. ESSER 3 predominantly an SEL grant, and then 162,000 of the expenses, which is predominantly professional development and instructional software licenses that we got to help, that we found is really still helping the kids accelerate their learning. That we're using from there. So we're at approximately an $893,000 projected deficit for the current year, which is about 2.7. We do have $1 million unallocated or unbudgeted out of ESSER that we can resolve that. But certainly the hope and what we're working towards is to hopefully getting a little bit more revenue up top and controlling some expenses down bottom and making that $893,000 smaller, smaller, and smaller. So we get to the point where we don't need to use the 1 million in ESSER, and we can carry that forward until, the next year, to help us next year.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a time limit on the ESSER? Like, do you get,
Yes, FY '24 or '25, so it's pretty much
that's it?
it. And I think as Dr. Cron was saying earlier this evening, we don't have, this is the end,
Right.
of the money that can be used to fund operating expenses. There's still additional relief money that the town's been very generous with us on in the ARPA money that we're going forward for all our safety, upgrades that we spoke about at another meeting, but any relief money now is truly capital. At this point, I don't see anything on the horizon similar to, with the type of flexibility that we have had with the ESSER 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Any questions, ladies? No? Okay. Thank you. Please thank your team, too.
Yes,
all their hard work. It has
yes,
been a
Mary
hard
Jo Lipson
season,
and,
yeah.
and Betsy Lowe are saints.
Okay. Well, thank them, please, from us. All right. Moving on to new business. We have fundraisers for approval. We have the class of 2025 and 2026, so our sophomores and freshmen are going to sell Hilliard's candy bars in November. And that's all. We have just the one fundraiser.
Motion to approve?
Second?
All those in favor? And then we have one homeschool application. Do we have any information on
Just
that?
that this is a family who had enrolled at the beginning of the year and then decided to homeschool, so that's why the application is coming through
Coming through now?
Yep.
Okay, I
Mhm.
wondered that. Great. I'll be looking to entertain a motion to approve if there's no questions.
No questions. Motion to approve?
And a second?
All those in favor? And then we have the 2022 October 1st enrollment. Dr. Cron?
Thank you. Total enrollment as of October, are we up yet?
Ready to share.
Hold, please.
Was the last one up?
Yeah, it was
Okay,
up.
there you go.
There it is.
There it is.
Just takes a while to warm up.
Excellent.
Right, I was thinking.
So if everyone looks left to right from the top left-hand corner, the first number you see is 2166. That is the number that we reported as of October 1st. The important thing to understand about that number when you compare it to the one to its right, which is 2187, is that the 2166 number is what we submit, but then it's processed by the state, and that number may go up or down by about 10%. So we're actually anticipating that it will go up. So we're considering our enrollment as stable from last year as compared to the FY23. The thing to note, the thing that should really pop out at folks, is if you look at the ELL number under the October 1 report number, we reported 241 ELL students this year. And if you go to the far right, in FY18, we had 99. And if you just go 1 year to the right, FY23, we were at 196 last year. So our ELL numbers are way up, and that should pop for folks. The other number that should really jump out at everyone is the economically disadvantaged number. That number is up to 1,273 as compared to last year, which was 1,084, and if you go back to FY18, it was only 801. So the story that the data is telling us, and we know as educators in our classrooms that this is a fact, the needs of our students are changing as our students change. And it is more expensive to educate ELL and high-needs students. It just is. It takes more personnel. It's generally a personnel issue. It's not a curriculum issue. It's not a software issue or a hardware issue. So it's expensive. So we are becoming a more expensive district to operate at a time when economically we're all struggling. So it's just everyone needs to understand that and know that. And the teachers are working very, very hard. This is very real for the classroom teacher, very real, especially in the ELL department where they may be looking at, in the elementary school, 4 or 5 students who just don't speak any English, and they're trying to move this class along. So I give them tremendous credit for what they're doing, And I give the kids a lot of credit because they're terrific and they're working very, very hard. And so I think it's a great story. It's nice to see that our enrollment is stable. I'm looking forward to a bump in enrollment when we open the Phelps. Just historically, that's what happens. We should draw more students in. Also looking to a little bump when we expand preschool. So I think it tells a pretty good story, but the one thing that really should jump out at folks is that the population of students in this district has changed dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years. And really from last year to this year, it changed quite a bit as well. So that's really all I have to say on enrollment, and very happy to see that it's staying stable. And a reminder that enrollment statewide is down. So staying stable is a good thing. And that's all I really have. Questions?
Any questions, ladies? No? Okay. Thanks, Dr. Cron. I think that it is interesting.
No?
No? I think it's interesting to see the numbers. I mean, I feel like we've been seeing this. We've known it, because you can visually notice it. You can hear it from the teachers and whatnot. But to have it now, you can see the numbers
Yeah.
and be able to show the state that this is how we're changing and this is what we need, because we want to support our kids and we want to make sure that they get what
Right.
they need, so.
And we've been talking a lot about with you and hopefully with the public that we've worked very, very hard on the district side to make sure that our data is accurate.
Right.
This is something that Jane has worked very hard on with the secretaries, the school nurses, the administrators, and making sure that we're identifying students accurately really has a profound effect on our funding. So I'm feeling better and better about that each year, that we're getting closer and closer and more accurate. So I'm hopeful that Chapter 70 will be up this year, and it'll provide some relief to the taxpayers of Rockland.
Right, right, okay.
Because really, what we've used that ESSER money for a great deal in that, on that non-recurring side, is to support positions that support these kiddos.
Right.
Yeah, we've added ELL
It's-
tutors,
That's who are,
paras.
that's who's on that
Yeah.
1.4 million, our
Right.
EL tutors, our our
Coaches.
Our coaches, folks who are really supporting our higher need population.
Population.
And we need the state to come up with that money to offset that loss of revenue, to continue to maintain those services.
And at the same time, what's interesting about this is that our population is shifting, but you'd think that it's sort of a zero-sum game, meaning if you have now 260 ELL students, that means you have 260 fewer other students. And you'd think that you'd be able to shift your costs in some way, like, okay, hire less of this now and more of this, but it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Right.
And it definitely doesn't work that way when you're talking about high-need students.
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
it's important for everyone to understand that even though our population is staying steady, our costs are going up.
Right.
So it's a story I think that people are hearing in every industry, that costs are going up, but this is why our costs are going up. And I think it's important that the public understands that.
Right, I agree, thank you.
Yeah.
And we have a new data manager, who has started, Melissa Humphries. She's
Right.
come from us from Weymouth. She's taking over from here. Rebecca Kidwell's been exceptionally helpful, over the course of the last couple of months in getting all this together. So we're very anxious to see how this translates into Chapter 70, but we really feel we left it all on the table.
Great.
You know, as far as we get as clean as we could come.
Well,
with the
thank you for
data.
doing all that work.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Wasn't
people,
easy.
Absolutely.
a lot of people, so.
It's a lot of behind-the-scenes work.
Yeah?
Right.
Quick question. In the 2166, there is the pre-K numbers, right? They're part
Yes.
of that, I want to say
Only point- as
5865. What are we anticipating? I know you said there's a potential to have increased enrollment when we open the preschool and the full day. Do we have a capacity? Do we see that that number's going to double? And what's that going to look like?
That's a
from
great
an impact?
question. We're still working on schedule-wise, how we're gonna structure the preschool program. One of the things that's a reality is that the state currently has no mechanism for reimbursing districts for full-day preschool. It doesn't exist on the state level. They only give you 0.5, half of a student for every preschool student. So they currently do not have a mechanism. So Jane and I have a plan to approach the state for some one-time funding to pilot full-day free preschool. The fact is, if the state did approve full funding of Chapter 70 for preschool, they'd be broke. So it is something that someday it will be free for all students, but I think the state and the nation need to get their brain around this fact and commit to it. But right now, if I were a legislator and someone came along and said, why aren't you giving full reimbursement for preschool? They would say, because we don't have the money to do that. So we're looking into, getting some one-time money for them to pilot it, and we're looking at how we will structure our model for preschool. Most likely what we'll do, we're still committed to free, but we'll probably be doing a morning session and an afternoon session free, and offer full day to our special education students. So that's our current plan. So in very circuitous answer to your question, yes, enrollment should go up. It should go up quite a bit, but we're still working out how we're going to do that and how we're going to structure it. But if we go full day only, we service fewer kids. So that's one sort of downside. And I think parents, I don't know what parents want, but I would assume they would be really happy with a free half-day program. So that's.
Parents.
Yeah.
Let us know what
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah.
I
Call
think,
us.
as a parent, but mine are obviously older than this, preschool was like a lot of money. It was like a car payment to put 2 kids into preschool.
Yeah.
So to have it offered even half-day is
Yeah.
still, better than nothing, I
Absolutely.
suppose. But it's good, it's twofold. It's not just helpful for the parents on the budget end. It's
Yeah.
also helpful for them out of the house and learning at 4 years
Learning.
old,
Right, and I wonder how that will translate, and I know that it's the goal that it'll translate into lesser needs once they're in the elementary school, so.
Right.
Right,
Because-
Social, emotional, and educational.
And educational.
Right.
Yep,
Earlier
right.
the better.
We
Right.
had
Right.
conversation just this morning about, certain cohorts of kids and all of the learning that's taking place now post-COVID and trying to catch kids up.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of catch-up going on.
Right.
So, and that's, again, on the plate of the teacher, the classroom teacher.
Right.
Trying to
well,
give
and don't
some
forget that for 2 years during COVID, early intervention wasn't going to the house, everything was telehealth. So
Yeah.
you have all those kids who had delays that weren't getting fully serviced,
Right.
if at all,
Right.
and now they're entering the schools.
Right, right,
So there's a lot on the plates of the teachers.
yeah.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on. To medication administration policy, we have our head nurse here, Flora Pang. Thank you for coming.
Step right up to the podium.
So I think, thank you for having me at the meeting tonight. I think that you have in front of you a copy of the revised proposed administration policy. I wanted to do this as I am settling into this position and reviewing some of the policies and documents that are in place. I noticed that it's been a while since the medication policy has been reviewed by the school committee, and it seemed that it was time to update it and put it before you for review. So I would say that probably the main things that have been changed in here, I did work off of a model that is provided by DESE School Health Unit. So it's very much in line with anything that has changed since the last time the policy was reviewed and updated. I did add in a pretty sizable portion. It's section 3, the administration of epinephrine. So before, that was sort of wrapped into the general medication administration. Now it's its whole own section, so it goes into a lot more detail about what is and isn't allowed, and the delegation that is allowed to happen. As the head nurse, I do have authority granted by the state to delegate administration of epinephrine to non-medical personnel, as long as they're appropriately trained, which we do through training at the beginning of the school year for all staff members, and then on an as-needed basis prior to like a field trip or something that we know a student who has an EpiPen is going to be going out into the community. So we make sure that any staff who is with that student is properly trained. And also of note is at the very end, there was not anywhere for a signature from a school committee member or our school physician. So I have sent this to our school physician for him to review and hopefully approve. I'm waiting to get that back from him. But I'm hoping that in reviewing it tonight, you will be comfortable, pending his approval, to give your blessing to the policy. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, lady?
Can you just talk a little bit for anybody who may be watching, for a parent who has a child who takes medication, they take albuterol, they take some other medication, what is the process for them to get that medication to you? What forms do they need to fill out? What do they need to do to be able to have that medication available for their child?
Absolutely. So there are three pieces of, three pieces that need to be in place for us to administer medication at school. One is a written prescription or authorization from the physician. The next is a written authorization from the child's parent. And the third is the medication in its original pharmacy container. So that could be an EpiPen, an inhaler, or tablets or liquid medication that the child takes at school for whatever reason. There are certain medications that are allowed to be carried by children sort of at the discretion of the nurse and the parent, and those typically include the inhalers and the EpiPens. We don't generally allow students to self-administer tablets to themselves. They would have to come to the nurse's office for those. So as long as those three things are given to the nurse, and I'm sure your nurses can email you the required documents, and we're pretty flexible about getting emails or faxes from doctors and parents to receive that paperwork.
That's what I was gonna ask. Do you have like a specific form you like filled out, or it's?
For the parent authorization, we usually use a school form, although some doctor's orders have a place for the parent to sign off on it, and they can give it to us that way. We offer a prescription form from the doctor, but typically doctors provide their own letter.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? No, I don't either. I'm comfortable to vote and pending our resident physician's approval, if you ladies are.
So,
Or
sorry,
do
do you have a question? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve pending the school physician approval.
And second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very
for
much.
coming. Okay, and then we'll move on to the ratification of the cafeteria contract. Any comments, Dr. Cron?
Just, sixth, yeah, just,
Sorry to interrupt.
no, I'm asking, sorry to be talking. I'm just really proud of the fact that we have successfully negotiated and settled 6 contracts in a very short time with great cooperation and amicably, and I'm just really proud of that. And I want to thank the cafeteria workers for what they do every day. I want to thank all of our faculty and staff for what they do every day. But our cafeteria workers are pretty darn special, and they do a tremendous job. And reminder that for some of our kids, this is the only hot meals that they're receiving during the day. I'm reminded of pictures seeing them standing outside in the horrible weather handing out meals during COVID. This is a pretty exceptional group of folks, and so we appreciate them very much. But I am, just to say it one more time, extremely proud that I can say that we have successfully settled through 6 contracts in a very short time, and that's a pretty great thing. So thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, the cafeterias, I think the students would say that's the number one position, number one job.
Yeah.
That's important, right? Is
Food.
that they get their food.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is pretty important. All right, so we need to vote on that.
A motion to approve the cafeteria contract?
And a second.
All those in favor? And then we'll go into the building improvement plan for the elementary schools, the middle school, and the high school.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
We treat this as a sort of a first reading so that you all have a little time to review them and ask any questions. And then at the next meeting, I'll have the principals here so that they can point out some highlights for you. Okay?
Sounds good. Can we have a motion to table?
So, motion to table the building improvement plans.
And a second.
All those in favor? That's a vote. Okay, and we'll move on to personnel information. Do you have anything to add, Dr. Cron?
I do not.
Okay. Moving on from there, we go back to you, Dr. Cron, with the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Just two really light things that I want to point out tonight that we talked about this morning at the senior administration meeting. We had a Halloween dance, at the Jefferson School. And the reason I highlight it is, well, it was their last one. And that's one thing, so it's bittersweet. And but like the Rockland Fire Department provided lights so that they could have this dance outside. And when I go on to the next thing that I want to highlight, the volleyball game that they had at the Eston School. They raised $800 and they're donating it to the food pantry and the holiday stroll. And I think these are two examples of the school and the community working together. And I just want to highlight that because I think it's great. And so our friends in the fire department and police department and food pantry and the holiday stroll committee, we're very fortunate to have such great partners in the school district. And I also want to welcome, I'm sure we'll get to meet him soon, but our new SRO has been selected, and his name is Ryan Theroux. So I'm very, very excited to meet him and to get him into the mix. And that's all I have for tonight.
Great, thank you, Dr. Cron. Move on to our public service announcements. I'll start with my left, since I'm a lefty, Ms. Hennessy.
Well, I think we all wanted to highlight this in our announcements today, and I guess I'm the lucky one, but wanted to thank the staff, the students, volunteers, and all the family that attended Project Pumpkin. A lot of great photos, a lot of great anecdotes. My daughter was there, I think Jill's daughter was there volunteering, and it's such a great community event. So I just wanted to say thank you, and something that we look forward to hopefully every year. So, and I think we talked about all the great October things that have happened. There have been a lot of great fundraisers that have happened that I think we'll probably get some summaries for, but Memorial Park and Jefferson both had fun runs. And once again, thank you to the families that continue to raise money for the PACs and all the hard work that the PACs do for our students, bringing enrichments and fun activities. So, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Small?
So I just want to point out that Election Day is coming up. So important for everybody to know because it's a day off school, but also important for everybody to know because it is our opportunity to direct our government. So every election matters. The election for the people here, for the school committee matter, the election for our local representatives matter, and the elections for our representatives that go to DC matter, but you have to get out and vote. And so absentee ballot is open, and I encourage everybody to have their voice heard. And so remember, Election Day is coming up.
Thank you, Dr. Small. I only have I have two things. First, congrats to our Lady Dogs volleyball team. They're undefeated league champs for the 6th year in a row. So I wanted to shout out to those ladies for working hard. And I wanted to say, have a safe and happy Halloween. And be careful, and have your parents check your candy. And that's all I have. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And a second.
All those in favor? Aye. Have a good night. Thank you.